You are about to enter Habs After Dark with Recliner Sports.
3, 2, 1, 0.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to the Halley Tiki Room. Welcome to Habs After Dark on Recliner Sports. My name is, as always, Devin. And we got a lot to talk about, I think. That was, I don't know. What did we think of that game? What did we think of it? What are your all of your thoughts? 3-2 loss, overtime, Calgary Flames, Montreal. What's the expression? They snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. 2 minutes away from a win, and they somehow find a way to throw it away. I really don't know what to say. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about it. I don't think. It was a tough one to watch, to be honest with you. But I guess we do have to talk about it. So. Montreal loses 3-2 to Calgary. It's a disappointing loss. Again, they appeared to have won, had the game won late in the third period, but they managed to allow a goal with just under 3 minutes left in the game to Matt Coronato. And then, as it often happens, Matt Coronato comes around and wins it in overtime, 7 seconds into overtime. Scoreless in the first period. Kadri scores at 4:20 of the second period to go up 1-0. Then the Canadiens tie it up on a power play. Brendan Gallagher from Armia and Kapanen late into that power play. Second unit is on the ice. They managed to get the puck past Dustin Wolf. Then, as I said, in the third period, 6 minutes in, Yoel Armia from Jake Evans. Really nice goal. Evans picks up a loose puck in the own end, shorthanded. He leaves the zone. Armia comes with him. They're on a 2-on-1. Jake Evans with a nice saucer pass, cross ice, and Armia buries it. Looks good at that point. Canadians probably don't deserve to be ahead at that stage. I think they dominated the first period and didn't get anything for it. As I said, 0-0. But here they are getting dominated in the second period and getting dominated in the third period. But despite that, they're ahead 2-1 as the third period moves on. And then they get to the last 3 minutes of the period. And Matt Coronato scores a goal from Blake Coleman at 17-12 to tie it up at 2-2. And then in overtime, right off the opening faceoff, I'm not exactly sure how exactly Nick Suzuki lost his stick, but Matt Coronato goes in, just takes the puck right off the faceoff and goes right in, goes wide, and just buries a shot past Sam Montembeault. So, again, I'm not sure what exactly happened there. Wait a minute. I do know what happened there. This was a situation where the Canadiens played 20 minutes. They played 20 minutes of hockey, and you're not going to win in the NHL when you play 20 minutes of hockey. It's just not going to happen. They almost got lucky and did it, but again, eventually that's going to come back and bite you. We can see here on the box score that the shots tonight were 35-23 in favor of Calgary. And if you want to break that down, the Canadiens outshot Calgary 15-10 in the first period. In the second period, they outshot the Canadiens 13-5. And in the third period, they outshot the Canadiens 12-3. So if you count the one shot in overtime, the Canadiens were outshot 26-8 in the second and third period. And if we want to look at high danger chances, which we always like to do, let's go over here. So in the first period, the Canadiens had 9 high danger chances and Calgary had 5. Again, as I said, they dominated that period. And then in the second period, the high danger chances were 2-2. And then in the third period, the high danger chances were 5 for Calgary and just 2 for Montreal. So they had 9 high danger chances in the first period and just 4 in the second and third period combined. That's just not going to get it done. Overall, the high danger scoring chances were 13-12 in favor of Montreal, but again, that's almost exclusively on the basis of the first period. Expected goals for the Canadiens dominated the first period, 2.46 for and 0.94 against. In the second and third period, they barely had 1 expected goal combined for the entire second and third period. So again, it's a scenario where you have a team that played one really good period and then just kind of wasn't able to maintain that level for a full 60 minutes. That's kind of what we're going to see from this team as they, to use Coach St. Louis' words, as they learn to win. This is what it's going to look like. Some days they're going to look great. Some days they're going to look bad. Some games they're going to look great for part of the game, and the rest of the game they're going to look bad. Tonight was one of those situations, right? This was not a good game. If there were good signs, obviously the first period was a good sign. And the fact that they can play that well, they looked really good. And that's the way they need to be able to play on a more regular basis if they're going to start to move towards being a playoff team. That's what they need to look like for 60 minutes a game, night in and night out. So they're showing glimpses of it. There was the game against, I believe it was St. Louis, I think, where they played really, really well and then kind of fell asleep for like 3 minutes at the end of the game. Again, it might have been the Islanders. I'm not sure. Anyways, it's just that's the inconsistency of a young team that we're going to see. That's what they're working on. This is what they're working on. They're working on being that consistent team that performs 60 minutes a game, night in, night out. So speaking of bright spots, I think there were a couple individual bright spots. We're going to look at the A team right now. The A team, of course, being our version of the of the 3 stars. It's the Recliner Sports version of the 3 stars. So we've got Juraj Slafkovsky as the first member of the A team. Honestly, this might be a bit of a hot take. Tonight, I thought that Juraj Slafkovsky played, I want to say, his best game ever as a Montreal Canadien. That might be a bit of a stretch, but the comfort level that he had on the ice and the way he just, when he got the puck, he was able, it wasn't like rush. Everything was just calm. And like, if you notice, there were like 3 or 4 times where he got the puck and he just stayed calm with it. And he was patient and he waited out the defender and he just waited for the play to unfold in front of him. And he was able to get a number of good scoring chances as a result of that. I thought he looked really, really calm, relaxed, comfortable on the ice. And that is what not only we want to see from him, in my opinion, but I think it's what the kind of thing we want to see from the entire team. He had 0.73 expected goals tonight on his own. Juraj Slafkovsky, I thought he was the best player on the ice for either team, honestly. I thought he looked really, really good. Jake Evans, again, continues to bring it. On the penalty kill, obviously, the shorthanded goal, he was the architect of that shorthanded goal by Armia. I thought he looked good, in all other areas on that, on the penalty kill. I'm not a big fan of him being on that second line. I'm not sure why, and I think they kind of put them back together at times later in the game. But I'm not sure why you're taking him away from Gallagher and Anderson. I think he belongs there with those guys. I think those guys have formed a very good bottom 6 line for this team. And they've been one of the better, more consistent performers for the Montreal Canadiens. So I wasn't a big fan of him taking of Marty St. Louis taking him off that line, but it is what it is. Gallagher just continues to be a bit of a revelation this year for Montreal, right? He's, everybody was ready to give up on Gallagher. Gallagher sucks. Got to get rid of Gallagher. Gallagher's got to go. Get Gallagher out of town. He's no good. He's this, he's that. Well, since, the last dozen or so games of last year, Gallagher's been one of the better players on this team. And that was no different tonight. I thought he looked really good. I think, he continues to look good. His skating has improved. His hands are back to an extent. He's always hustling. I mean, he always did that, even when, he wasn't doing that great. He always works hard. He's a good example for the young kids. And, I'm more than happy to give him a spot on the A-team tonight. And the fourth member of the A-team is Sam Montembeault. I thought if it wasn't for Montembeault tonight, the Canadiens would have been in big trouble. Again, we talked about them getting outshot 36-23, and what did I say, 26-8 or something in the last two periods. If it wasn't for Montembeault, I don't think they would have even been in this game. The defense continues to struggle in their own zone. Getting the puck out of their own end just continues to be a complete adventure. How many times did we see tonight where guys just fire the puck out and hope and pray that, it gets past the other team's defense? There's no real creativity or thought process behind getting the puck out of their own end. Obviously, there's exceptions to that. But just time and time again, you see the Montreal Canadiens defensemen just panicking and just ripping the puck along the boards and hoping that it gets out of the zone. There's no real sense of a breakout. I don't know whether it's obviously partly the defensemen. I think it's also partly the wingers who are not getting to their spot along the boards the way they need to. But it's, it was very, very scrambly in their own end tonight against a team that frankly isn't very strong offensively. Like, that's not a team that should be giving you great trouble in your own end, right? They're not the New York Rangers. They're not the Florida Panthers. They're not the Edmonton Oilers. They're not a team that you should be running around in your, like, they don't have the personnel that should be making you make those kinds of mistakes. They shouldn't be the guys who are putting that pressure on you to the point where you're panicking coming out of your own zone. So, I thought Montembeault made a number of saves that kind of kept them in that game. And it could have been a lot worse. Also forgot to mention the Gallagher goal, the second Gallagher goal that was called back. Again, I'm at a bit of a loss to understand what the league is looking for by way of possession, right? You're allowed to precede the puck into the offensive zone if you have control of the puck. So if you're controlling the puck, if you have control of the puck, you can back over the blue line and your skates can cross the blue line before the puck does. That's allowed in the NHL. It always has been. But the test is whether or not you have control of the puck. And for whatever reason, the referees in this case, well, the linesman obviously thought it was okay, right? The linesman obviously thought it was okay because he didn't blow the whistle. And it's, if he didn't feel like Josh Anderson had possession of that puck, it was very obvious that the puck came in after his skates did. There's no doubt about it. So the linesman clearly thought about it, considered it, and decided that it was a good play. But for whatever reasons, the referees took a different interpretation of what possession means and whether or not Anderson possessed the puck as he crossed the blue line. I don't fully agree with it. I think I want to look at the replay a little bit more. But anyways, guys, give me a few more minutes here and then we'll get to the comments. I see Maui Dude, Hunter, and NHL Predictions are in the live. I believe you're all in there right now. Let's just have a quick peek. Okay. We are now going to move over to the report card. Again, the report card is just our way of looking at the game from a different perspective, not necessarily just looking at the score sheet. Again, keeping in mind that this is a young, developing team. This is what we look for. This is what I look for from them. So tonight they did not score 3 or more goals, so they get a fail in that respect. And they do get a check mark because they allowed 3 or fewer goals, even with the overtime goal. They kept their limit to 3. The reason for the number 3, guys, is that 240 is kind of a magic number in the NHL when it comes to goals for and goals against. It's a number that most people consider to be sort of the threshold for whether or not you're going to make the playoffs. If you allow fewer than 240 goals, chances are you're going to make the playoffs. If you score more than 240 goals, chances are you're going to make the playoffs. And if you're able to do both of those things, you're almost guaranteed to make the playoffs. The Canadiens are not on a very good track for that so far this year, but tonight they did manage to allow 3 or fewer goals, but unfortunately they weren't able to score as many. Special teams tonight. What did we finish with? What did they finish with? So 0 for 1. So they were able to kill the only power play against. In fact, they scored a shorthanded goal. And they were 1 for 3 on the power play. I gave them an X here. I gave them a fail. Maybe I reconsider that. Maybe I can reconsider that. The shorthanded goal and the power play goal. Maybe I'll change that. Consistent effort and compete? Absolutely not. Again, as we talked about, they had a good first period, but they didn't have a good 60 minutes, and that's what we're looking for. That's the key thing that you're looking for. If you're a Montreal Canadiens fan, don't look at the scoreboard. Don't look at, this guy didn't look good tonight or that guy didn't look good tonight. If you're a Montreal Canadiens fan, what you're looking for is a consistent effort. You're looking for them to come out and play their game for a full 60 minutes. That's when you will know that this team is ready for prime time, when they come out and they play a full, consistent 60 minutes. Yeah, so discipline, again, very disciplined. Just the one penalty tonight, I thought they did a really good job of that. Again, I kind of feel like they're maybe doing too good a job of that. I feel like they are not quite physical enough for me, and that's part of the confidence that I'd like to see them bring into the game, is that they go out there and they sort of, dominate the other team physically. They're big enough. I mean, everyone seems to think this is a small team. They're not a small team. They're big enough, and they're capable of doing that. Enjoyment, again, that's a bit of a weird one. It's a bit of I might change that one. But again, I don't think they looked like they were enjoying themselves tonight. I look for that, the joy that they kind of looked like they were having in the first period. They were having fun out there on the ice. They were doing their thing, and they looked like they were comfortable and having a good time. And unfortunately, that kind of disappeared in the second and third period. They looked a lot more uptight and freaked out by the situation. So that's just about it, guys. I don't think there's anything particular from the notes that I had that I wanted to talk about. Again, it's one good period for Montreal, and then 2 really subpar periods. They just did not look good in the second and third period. So you can't win the Stanley Cup in November, but you can lose it. Well, I don't think the goal for this team was ever to win the Stanley Cup. I don't think that was ever an expectation that they had. So I don't know that that's really the standard that we're looking at. But again, like I said, what I think we should be looking for at this point for this team is are they competing on a consistent level? Are they showing up and playing a full 60 minutes? Are they doing that more often than not? Or are they, playing really good one game and then, really garbage the next game? Are they playing 20 minutes of good hockey and then disappearing? Like, it's a very, the psyche of a young hockey team is very fragile, and we saw that tonight, right? They go to sleep for literally, 2 or 3 minutes in the third period there, and the game just, disappears on them. So they fell asleep again. Yes, NHL predictions, better game than the past games we have seen this season. Not really, in my opinion. They certainly were for one period, but overall that game was not anything to be really that satisfied about if you're a Montreal Canadiens fan. In my humble opinion, getting the 1 point in overtime, yeah, I guess in that sense it's better than what they've been accustomed to, but I don't think it Yeah, I would not classify that. So, if I'm being honest with you, I don't think they played any better tonight than they did in the game where they lost 8-2 to Seattle. In fact, I think they probably played better in the Seattle game. That said, the first period tonight was a very good sign, and it demonstrates that what they're capable of and what level they're able to perform at, if they if they want to, that's the capability they have. They were all over, especially in the last 12 minutes or so of that first period. That was as dominant as they've been all year. But unfortunately, they only did it for that 10 or 12 minutes. They're trying their best. They have 2 to 8 years to become better players. Yes, I agree. NHL predictions. I don't think they have 8 years, but I think they have probably, they probably got another 5 or 6 years within which to become a Stanley Cup contender. And, I'm not panicking by any means. And, if you know me, you know that I don't panic about that. I know they're rebuilding. I accept the rebuild, and I'm patient with the rebuild. I'm all for it. But again, on the road to progress, if you're looking for things, if you're looking for signs that they are improving and they are progressing towards that, then you look at tonight's game, and obviously you can take the positives out of that first period, and I do. But you also have to look at that continuing struggle they're having with their confidence and their consistency. And, I think that showed up tonight, and that was pretty evident. So it looks like things are pretty quiet in the chat tonight. Last live was kind of our most lively so far, but tonight we had Maui Dude in here, and we had Hunter, but we're missing some of our regulars for whatever reason, and it looks like it's just you and I right now, NHL predictions. So I don't know if you've got anything. Some players have 2 years left. Some players have 8 years left. Well, no, that's actually not true. NHL predictions. I mean, some of the player. If you're talking about contracts, you're right. I think that guys like Gallagher and well, not Gallagher so much, because Gallagher's got 5 years left or 4 years left. But you're right. People are on different contracts. But what I'm talking about is the window for this team to be successful is basically measured on Nick Suzuki's contract, right? How many years does Nick Suzuki have left on his contract? I believe it's 6. And that's kind of the window they're looking at. I mean, they're not basing their success on, Josh Anderson's contract or Brendan Gallagher's contract. They're certainly not basing it in any way on, Yoel Armia's contract or any of those other guys. So those guys will likely be long gone when this team becomes a Stanley Cup contender. Matheson and Savard, you might argue, are, could be still around. Jake Evans, I think I would certainly foresee or would have no issue with them signing him to a contract extension and having him around in the long term. But certainly, I think if you're looking to measure the Montreal Canadiens window and to sort of delineate where they expect, at least for now. I mean, again, just because they don't win within that window doesn't mean that the rebuild's over. If for whatever reason they can't get it all together in time for within the time period that Nick Suzuki is under his current contract, well, then maybe you consider letting him go or re-signing him and figuring out another way to make it work. But the rebuild doesn't end just because the window closes. That's kind of the problem that a lot of other teams have faced, is they kind of get impatient with the rebuild after a certain amount of time, and they kind of pull the plug on it, and it has a more long lasting negative impact on the organization. So again, it seems very quiet in here tonight. We have myself and NHL predictions in the chat, and unfortunately there doesn't appear to be anybody else. So I don't know what's up with that. I suspect that maybe, is the Toronto game still on or something? Maybe all those losers are still watching the Toronto Maple Leafs play. I don't know. If I were the coach of this team or any team, what would you do to make them better players? Well, I mean, any number of things. I mean, I think what the Canadians are doing now is they're trying. Well, I mean, they're working on systems for one thing, but they're also working on some of the the mental components of the game. They're helping these guys to be smarter hockey players, right? These guys are all very skilled. I think skill-wise, I think this hockey team is right where it needs to be and wants to be. They've got good, young, skilled hockey players, but they need to, put all of that together, and they need to sort of, they need to turn this into a team, right? You can have great players, but if you're not a great team, then it doesn't really serve any purpose. So, you've got great players. You've got Slavkovsky is playing very well, and certainly looks like he's going to, turn into an impactful top six forward. You've got, Cole Caulfield, who's playing well and looks like he's going to turn into an impactful goal scorer and a top six forward. Nick Suzuki is already basically a point per game player in the NHL and looks like he might even be able to improve on that. Good leader, good defensive player, so you've got these guys. You've got Kirby Dach, who, while he's not really playing, at an ideal level right now or where we think he might be able to get to. I mean, he's still on pace for 50 points this year. Maybe a little bit less than that now with a couple games of no points, but he is certainly capable of that. And Patrick Laine comes back healthy. There's another guy, and then you've got Demidov down the pipe, and then you've got so it's the players are there. Now it's going to be a matter of the coaching staff molding them into a team that has the psyche to be a competitor, that has the psyche to be a contender. The Leafs won tonight. Okay. So I don't know what's going on here, guys. It's awfully quiet. Maybe this is going to be one of our shorter episodes of Habs After Dark. I don't really have too much else to talk about, to be honest with you, after that game. Again, I think it's just all about, this team developing and becoming, to use Marty St. Louis' words, learning to win and becoming guys who know how to win on a day in and day out basis. So I guess that's going to be it for tonight, guys. I guess I'll cut it a little bit short. Maybe everyone's watching the election coverage. I don't know. We will talk to you soon, guys. Thank you for showing up. Those of you who did, thank you for your questions. Hopefully we can get a little bit better of a turnout next time. I know that there's a number of regulars who just didn't show up tonight, which is fine. I mean, I guess you can't be here every night, but I always look forward to seeing you guys. If you're watching this in the replay, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, and you can get notified when we go live. As I've said, we go live after every Montreal Canadiens game. We will miss games from here and there. I might not be able to cover the next game on Thursday, as I'll be out of town for work. I'll bring my laptop with me, and I might be able to pull it off. But we'll see whether I do that or not. I may or may not be able to do it. So thank you for coming. If you're watching this live, I appreciate it. NHL Predictions in particular, I see you've been here the entire time, and thank you for that. I did see you stepped out a little bit while I was talking before. I don't know if you guys don't enjoy that side of things, but anyways, it is what it is. I also like to thank Hunter for coming by, Maui Dude. So that's everybody. If you're watching this in the replay, I appreciate that as well. Make sure you give us a follow. Check out our stuff on the other social media outlets: TikTok, Instagram, Discord, Twitch. We're on all of those platforms, guys, under Recliner Sports. Twitter. Go check us out. We also have our website, reclinersports.ca, where we post a lot of our written content. So go check us out. And, I can't wait to see you guys next time. Again, another loss for the Montreal Canadiens, 3-2 in overtime to the Calgary Flames. A disappointing loss, but that's it for Habs After Dark. That's it for me, Devin. Thank you very much from me and from Recliner Sports, and we will see you next time. Peace out.
defenseman. Monahan parked in front. Doc to Caulfield. Fires. Scores!
You are about to enter Habs After Dark with Recliner Sports.